You know, it's hard being a tech show host because you're getting more popular with reviews. It's almost hard to manage, but if there's one thing I've learned in my current job, you gotta multitask. And if you're not a multitasker, you're not gonna be able to keep up. So that's what I'm trying to do. But I know, cringy dad joke. Oh yeah, WWDC. Let's talk about it. Alrighty, the first story, the main story of the day, and the one we're really gonna focus on the most on this episode is, of course, WWDC. Now, as you guys know, every single year, WWDC is that one time of year that Apple goes all in on the software, and it's really a great celebration, especially if you're a software developer, if you're really into this stuff, if you're that one dude that's sitting in the basement with the drawers on, typing on your damn keyboard, then this is for you. Nah, I'm just playing. But anyway, this is actually one of the fewer WWDCs in the last 5 years that has actually been the most talked about, the most teased, and the most questionable of what we're gonna see with iOS 19. Now, in regards to iOS, that is the main star of the show. We will talk about iPadOS, we'll talk about visionOS, we'll talk about a majority of the software. I'm not gonna focus on every single one of them, but I'm gonna focus on the key ones. iOS, iPadOS, watchOS, and visionOS. And I'm gonna throw in visionOS for a specific reason at the end of the video. So starting with iOS 19, iOS 19 is proving to apparently be finally the biggest revamp to iOS since iOS 7. When iOS 7 first came out, it was the biggest shakeup to the iPhone. It was the start of something new, and that is seemingly going to be the case with iOS 19, as according to many reports, including Front Page Tech, he is giving us the most accurate rumors, and you know I love you, John. You know I'm always gonna use you as a source. I'm never not gonna do that. But iOS 19 is looking to be the biggest revamp. It looks like they're gonna focus on trying to blend more consistency along the lineups of all of their products, and the biggest inspiration is, of course, visionOS. It seems like Apple wants to go in on this transparency UI where everything just feels blended into, nothing feels like it's different from across the board. And if you've used any of the products, if you've used iPadOS to macOS to iOS, iOS and iPadOS are the only two that feel synchronous across the board. Whereas macOS has that three-dimensional feel with some similarities to iOS, but always felt slightly different in terms of the optimization. And then when visionOS came out, it took it to a whole other level. So Apple seems to want to combine everything and give iOS, iPadOS, and all these OS updates a visionOS style redesign, where it will be either rounded or square rounded with three-dimensional glassy kind of design. So it seems like we're gonna get some of that three-dimensional skeuomorphism style like design. Again, we don't know exactly what it's gonna be, but this is a very big thing because Apple is not known to really change what has been. And if you know anything about the icons and the layout of iOS since iOS 1, this is a huge shakeup. Now, again, we have to wait and see how they do this, but that's not the main focus of iOS 19. Outside of the redesigns, outside of the different styles, there is going to be a lot more focuses on Apple Intelligence, as well as AI battery management, as well as a new version of Siri that is teased to be just as smart as ChatGPT, which I find very hard to believe, but you know Apple and their marketing team, they're gonna figure something out. But along with that, there is going to be a more focus on personal context as well as deeper app integrations with the photos. There is going to be Wi-Fi portal login information that's gonna be added with Wi-Fi upgrades. The Health app is also going to be expected to get some more utilization. There are new accessibility features that have been teased for iOS 19. Other new features are background sounds, personal voices, vehicle motion cues, eye tracking, many different things in iOS 19, but the main focus for it is going to be the performance. It seems like Apple is also going to be pulling a page from iOS 12 and will be addressing the user interface and focusing on the performance and the bugs. And if you know, iOS 12 has always been my personal favorite OS update from Apple in the longest time, because iOS 12 felt like a much needed tuning, a refined OS experience that focused on the performance and focused on the bugs. And it looks like they're gonna do that even with this major redesign. They're not gonna focus too much on the features, they're gonna focus more on the user interface and also the performance. So that is actually something that I really like across the board with iOS 19. Now again, you know there are gonna be some Android fans in the comments and probably somewhere in their little hobbit ground saying, oh, but we have everything on the Android side. Don't worry, your time's coming, you motherfuckers. Just wait till the next video. But all I'm gonna say is, if you are one of those guys, if you are one of those people, nobody cares. This is an Apple event. We know you have it good, so just continue to use it. Stop and just let the Apple sheeps have their fun for just one day. Let the Apple fans enjoy what you've been enjoying for God knows how long. Just let them have that one. Moving on now to iPadOS 19, it is going to also be a piggyback off of iOS 19 with a few different changes that is going to be focused more on the Pro side, specifically when it comes to productivity, multitasking, in terms of expanded window management if you connect it up to a desktop monitor. It's also going to be getting macOS-like features. We have seen a lot of things come over from macOS to the iPadOS, and it seems like Apple is continuing this refinement because, again, the question has still never been answered. Why pay all that money for an iPad when each iPad can do the same thing and you don't have to drop it? So it seems like they're still working to address that issue, but it looks like the Pro and the Air series is going to address those questions finally. I don't personally think so because it's been 5 years since they've tried to do this, and I don't see that being the case this time around. But iPadOS 19 is just going to get the same piggyback features along with these few other areas that it's going to focus on. Moving on to watchOS. watchOS is a more interesting idea because watchOS is considered to be by many to be the black sheep of the Apple software. And if you know anything about watchOS, it's a great software, especially for the Apple Watches. The Apple Watches have been some of the best technology that Apple has ever made, and watchOS continues to expand that with newer health tracking features and some teases into future products of what Apple's gonna do. Similarly with the heart sensor, there's gonna be more detection. It seems like they're gonna refine it again and also focus a lot on the health tracking systems, mostly improve sleep performance as well as the temperature sensors in terms of the next Apple Watch. And then also, of course, with watchOS, it is going to feature a lot of the newer and improved areas that we've seen from year in and year out. So I don't really have to go into too much. You can see why iOS is always the #1 at the show. But then of course we get to macOS. Now with macOS 16, it seems like in this area, it is also again going to piggyback off of iPadOS, iOS. It seems like all the OSs are going to get the same thing across the board, and it's going to be focused on keeping everything as one unity. But there are going to be a couple of areas to be on the lookout for with macOS, specifically the vehicle motion cues, taking also a look at the new design, as well as several different things with macOS like an improved stage manager, and lastly with macOS the naming scheme, which you know they're basing it off of California land area and things like that, so we'll have to wait on that. But macOS we don't really need to focus a lot on because the Mac has always been the Mac, and if you use a Mac you're gonna love it, and I don't think there's any complaint, anything like that whatsoever when it comes to the performance as well as what you can do on macOS. I think the only thing that they would have to address is again similar to the performance in terms of the Pro, the Max chips, and something that macOS can do with those other different areas that they have. But ultimately macOS is something that nobody really needs to focus on because everybody just loves macOS. Nobody's really complained about it. It's not Windows, it's not Linux, but macOS is macOS. I mean, that's kind of it. So all in all, what is my thoughts on WWDC? Well, listen, here is this very famous quote that I have said since I was 19 years old and even probably 17. If you're going into this and you're expecting products, if you're expecting anything but software, set those damn expectations to low. Because when you find out there's no hardware, don't be disappointed. So always set your expectations to low. You notice I didn't talk about any products. But I gotta say, Of all the WWDCs that I have watched over the last several years, this is one that feels the most unique. This one feels very different. We know exactly what Apple's going to do. I didn't even get to Vision OS in this video. I kind of glossed over it with Mac OS. I'm gonna save Vision OS for a separate video because I have some other thoughts on that. So stay tuned because we're gonna talk about Vision OS 3, but we're gonna tie it to another Apple Vision Pro video, which I will make separately because there's more to talk about that and how this impacts Apple's entire ecosystem going forward. So I'm gonna save that. But all I can say is that this is the start to the new Apple. We are heading down the road where Apple is now approaching its new grounding. And with Tim Cook reportedly on his way out, it looks like somebody behind the scenes is influencing these decisions, and it looks like it's the pavement to starting of a new chapter for Apple. Now again, of course, I don't want to make rumors and spread, but we know Tim Cook's time is starting to dwindle within the company. And eventually he's gonna have to pass the torch. And this doesn't feel like a Tim Cook move to me. This feels like somebody is being set up for success and in how they see something. Whoever that individual is that's gonna take it over, this is ultimately something I feel is coming from within the design team, somebody from the Apple team, whether it's Craig or God knows who else they probably are thinking. It just feels different. And that's the uniqueness of this year's WWDC. It feels genuinely different. It doesn't feel like the Apple we know. This is like an Apple that's going to do something we've never seen them do, and that is actually change something and make it feel different and actually make it feel like it's worthy of an upgrade. And that is why I think this year's WWDC is going to be different, and I actually am very, very excited for it. I can't wait to watch it. It's less than a month away, so comment down below, guys. What are you excited the most for WWDC? If you like the video, hit the like button. If you dislike the video, you can hit the dislike button. That helps circulate my videos as well. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next episode, and stay tuned because we gotta talk about the S25 Edge because fuck.